Hello, my name is Taylor Coyne, joining you from Los Angeles. Always still getting a kick out of the intro video.
And my name is James Cook, loving that intro as well. Coming to you from Indiana. We both research retail and real estate for JLL.
And this is everything we know about retail.
That's right, Taylor. This is the show where we tell all of you everything we know about retail, 3 things at a time.
So, James, what do you know about retail this week?
Oh, I'm really excited. I've got something I love that I know about retail. Payless, post-bankruptcy, has opened up its first U.S. store this week.
You gotta love a comeback story, right?
100%. So, Taylor, what do you know about retail?
So I know that direct-to-consumer brands, Clicks to Bricks, D2C, all of the fun names that we know about them are increasingly looking to partnership with established retailers.
Digital natives. Love it. Well, tell me more. Let's hear about D2C brands.
So this is the first thing that we know about retail, and it is that D2C brands are diversifying. So, James, we have talked about this at length in history in our, time and research. We've written reports about it. D2C brands, direct-to-consumer, clicks-to-bricks brands. I would say about 2 years ago, we wrote a report and we said over the next 5 years, granted, who would have predicted a pandemic, that clicks-to-bricks retailers would have opened, I think we said 850 stores over the next 5 years, which is impressive. So we've been talking about these brands that, they know how to relate to the consumer. They started online. They are so good at marketing. And as we've also learned over time, they spend a lot of money on marketing. But this whole idea of that they're selling direct to the consumer, I know this brand and developing a relationship with them and they're opening stores. But I think we're going to have to rename this because D2C is becoming a little bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, right. Direct to consumer. Well, why is that?
So glad you asked. So more and more of these retailers, these D2C brands that we've known about are really starting to sell through, not only are they selling through department stores, but they're just selling through retailers that we've known, I almost want to call them legacy brands, legacy physical retailers that have been around for a long time. So Black Tux, don't know if you're familiar, but they were a Clicks to Bricks and they did a Tux wedding rentals. My dad actually did a Black Tux for my wedding. It was great service, but they just made a big announcement this week that they're partnering with David's Bridal. Talk about, probably the biggest, physical bridal shop in the country. So now you'll be able to go to David's Bridal and you can go in and talk to, there'll be a dedicated Black Tux area. So for Black Tux, now they get a huge real estate portfolio. And then David's Bridal gets to tap into all the consumers that, Black Tux has worked really hard to cultivate over these past few years. So, it's really impressive. And then, their loyalty points, everything gets commingled, but it's kind of a win-win for both of them. And this isn't necessarily new. Prior to the pandemic, we've tracked these brands a lot. Granted, they have grown exponentially over the past, probably 5 years, but it seems, especially during the pandemic, I don't know, I'm getting advertised about these all the time, but 60% of them already sold through wholesale, Nordstrom being the most popular. But we're just seeing more and more of that, I think, especially as the pandemic, we talked about all of these brands going out on their own. And I think kind of these big monumental global pandemic happens and we realize that, one channel is not enough. We need to be as diverse as possible. So, Tonal, this is a little different, but, this is an at-home fitness, it's like a mirror and some other stuff. They're opening stores within Nordstrom. Clearly, no offense to Tonal, haven't gotten on that bandwagon yet, but, again, there are just so many of them, but it's really great. Tack on, this is a little different again, but Lululemon bought Mirror. So Mirror can now sell in all of those physical stores. And James, I don't know if you will remember, but back when, I don't want to say this is when your podcast Where We Buy officially started, but do you remember going into Parachute in Silver Lake? What seems like eons ago now.
Yeah, we did an episode in Silver Lake and Echo Park, right?
So we did. Well, we did a lot. I remember we got donuts, and we went into Parachute, which is, I've been a sucker for Parachute since they opened. They are, they sell sheets, and they've expanded since then. But we did go into a Parachute. They're still there. I would have to imagine doing incredibly well, even their physical store, just because we're spending so much time at home. Buy nice sheets. But they partnered with Crate and Barrel. They're going to be selling, a specific line through Crate and Barrel, which again, talk about established retailer. And that's great for Crate and Barrel too. Gets this kind of, you almost can't call it an up and coming brand anymore, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. So I think we're going to have to not call them direct to consumer brands. They're just going to be started online brands. Now,
Yeah.
not.
Used to be. And it feels like this has been coming for a while. Casper Mattress has been selling through at a lot of retailers. Harry's razors are at Target and have been for a little while now.
Yeah.
It seems like the cost of customer acquisition online is pretty high. The cost for a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad to get a new consumer that'll actually pay back is pretty high, and it seems like it's a lot easier to get on the shelf in some instances anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's all very tailored too. Food 52, which is, focused a lot. I don't know if you've ever gone and taken any recipes from them, but they're a really, kind of digital media company that does a lot of recipes. They're selling through Nordstrom now as of, I believe it was late last year. And, the CEO of the company came out and was just like, we're not going to do this all over the place, but our goal is to have a few meaningful partners versus trying to sell everywhere. So I think they're trying to take lessons from some of these maybe mid-priced apparel brands who sold through so many different wholesale channels, didn't have control over what goes on sale, what gets discounted and how they track all of their merchandise. So I think this makes a lot of sense. And I think we're going to see it a lot more.
So Taylor, would you say that it is ironic that a bunch of brands who said they were going to disrupt the entire retail industry are now doing the exact same thing the retail industry has done for hundreds, if not thousands of years?
Funny you say it that way. Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's kind of funny that you say that, right? You read all of this stuff where it's like a lot of these brands started, no one was in the retail business. They were very much more, I guess, like tech backgrounds. And then all of a sudden they hire some of these legacy people who've been working at the legacy brands for a really long time and bring them on their board. Meaning that we need an actual retail specialist who knows about physical retail.
Yeah, right. So at first they were like, oh, we're disrupting it because of ignorance or something. And then they're like, well, we do want to open up some stores. And we don't know how to do that. And suddenly you see executives from these legacy retailers on their staff. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, which great. They came in. I feel like customer experience and certain things, what we search and look for in a brand. And I think they've helped with some of that too. But now I think we're entering into this new chapter. So more partnerships to come. And I think the next time you roll into Nordstrom, you're going to see more than just Tonal and Food 52. So James, what do you know about retail?
Well, Taylor, I think it's time for the second thing that we know about retail. And I'm excited by this. This is a revival of a brand, a classic brand, if you will. Let's take a look here. So this is a Payless shoe source store from, when is this? This photo was taken in 2010, actually in Ann Arbor at the mall. You went to college around there, right?
Oh, I've definitely been here before.
Now, did you stop in and get some shoes with Velcro on them when you went there?
No, but what was at that mall, which I cannot believe I'm blanking, if this is the mall that I'm thinking of, is we used to go to California Pizza Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the CPK was near campus. And that was like the special thing when, you finally had a car on campus and you drove off campus. You went to CPK at Briarwood. If this is it, it's Briarwood Mall in Ann Arbor, if that is the mall.
So this photo is taken from Wikipedia, where I get all of my
Hmm.
public domain imagery, and it only said Ann Arbor at the mall. It didn't say which one, but we'll assume it is.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So Payless has been around in one fashion or another since 1956. Even though this photo was taken in 2010, it's very much the way I remember Payless. Like this right here,
Yes.
this is the classic Payless store look. So this one is an interior that was taken in 2014. But again, this is exactly like it was when I was shoe shopping with my mom
I would
in
have
like
been like,
86.
I would have been 2 decades off if you had asked me. We should have played
I
a game.
know, right?
What year is this from? I can guarantee you it would have not begun with a 2.
Right. And so that photo that we looked at before, that was kind of the classic branding that you saw at the mall. They did have newer branding. This photo was taken in 2015 at the Fairview Mall in Toronto. So this is what the stores looked like in 2019, which is when Payless filed for its second bankruptcy. And they closed first all the stores in the US and then all their stores in Canada. So I'm going to say 2,400, 2,500 stores, something like that, closed. What a lot of people in the US, though, didn't realize is the brand did continue because they have a lot of locations around the world, a lot in Latin America, and they continue to operate those. I want to say almost 800 stores that have continued to operate around the US. So there was only a brief period of time where Payless wasn't in the US because around that time in 2019, they launched a US e-commerce site, and they also dropped Shoe Source from the name. So they're officially Payless.
Well, to be fair, shoe shorsh.
Right. And if you're a global brand, Shoe Source, it's difficult for me to say as a native English speaker. So
Right.
I think the Payless works. But Taylor, Payless is back in the US. So this is a photo of the newest Payless store that just opened in Miami on Monday. So this is Monday, March 1st of this week. Their new American HQ is also in Miami, so just nearby. So it makes sense that that's where they're going to open up their first store. They partnered with a local Miami artist, Superama, to do the mural that you see on the store exterior. So you can see right off the bat that they're trying to make these feel a lot newer, a lot fresher. And when you go inside the store, you get that feeling too. Here we go. So this is a shot of the interior. Not a lot nicer and cleaner, right, than the photos we looked at before.
Definitely. I mean, look, it's so much brighter too, and less claustrophobic. Whatever, the description of that, of the very tall, shoe racks. This just seems like I'm not going to have a panic attack.
Yeah. The old classic Payless looked like if there were an earthquake, you were probably going to die because everything was going to collapse in on you.
Yes, you're going to death by lots of shoes.
So this new store prototype is a similar size, 4,000 square feet, but it's got a big focus on omni-channel and technology. So they've got touch screens all over the place. They've got a lot of augmented reality. So they're using AR for foot measurement. They've got some different animations like those floor decals you see on the floor there. Those, if you have some AR technology, become animated. Oh, I should also say that now, post-bankruptcy, they're focusing specifically on the Latinx customer. So the technology actually helps a lot with this because you can do all the displays can be in English and Spanish. I don't know. I think it's a smart move. I think these stores look great. I think there's a lot of value in the Payless name. And, frankly, I'm glad to see that it's getting a rebirth back here in the USA.
Yeah. Do you know if they're going to be opening more stores over time?
No announcements. Oh, check this out. This is the employees at the newly opened store, ready to go, masked and all ready to go. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are. Clearly, they're going to want to open up new locations, but we'll see how fast the pace is. I would imagine, however successful this store is going to dictate how quickly they open up up new stores. And
Yeah, and I mean, slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the
I
race.
know.
We've all heard that before.
Right. And that is literally the opposite of what a lot of retailers do because they want to show growth. And that's kind of what bites you on the behind in the end.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, nothing good comes from that. But I'll be curious too with all of that technology. I think a lot of times, you know, with the Paylesses of the world, part of it's about the hunt, but also sometimes you go in there and it's a mess because you kind of are on your own of trying things on. So I'll be curious if the technology aspect of that really kind of helps uh, keep it organized and more, easily navigable to what you actually want and need. So,
Yeah.
but that's great.
Awesome. So our next trip to Miami, crossing my fingers, I get to Miami again. We don't have another Pando Part 2.
Yeah.
We're going to go check it out because it is not that far from kind of, the Brickell and the beach and all that jazz. Like it's in a good location.
Yeah.
So
Also, let's talk about that. They opened a store. It's a pandemic. That's great. Retail.
A plus Payless. All right.
Right?
Well, Taylor, what else do you know about retail?
So, here is the third thing that we know about retail, and it is that online grocery, well, groceries are also here to stay, but online grocery is also really here to stay. So, James, I don't know if you saw in the news this week, but that Instacart's valuation doubled to more than 39 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a lot.
I know, we live in different places, but I cannot tell you how much I use Instacart throughout this pandemic. It's been a lot.
Well, it's funny. I live in the boonies, so Instacart doesn't work here, but I have it on my phone because I've done a little bit of personal travel over the past year, and I used Instacart and Grubhub for the first time when we were Airbnb-ing it in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it is great. So, and like Instacart is just kind of blowing it out. According to 1010 data, in April of last year, Instacart already had more than 15% of the online grocery spending. Everyone else had less than 10. And in 2020, it's gained more than 200 new retail partnerships. It delivers for nearly 600 retailers across more than 45,000 stores and contracts with 500,000, gig shoppers. And also, I say retailers because it's not even just grocery stores. That's their main focus, but they've been diversifying, trying to work up with, new retailers. But I think, the fact that Instacart's valuation has just doubled like this just speaks to online ordering. And if we know anything, we know that grocery e-commerce sales are up. I don't know why that thing is back up on the top, but here we are. It's here. I apologize to all of the viewers that this is not bigger, but you can see this really great chart from eMarketer, who does a very good job of tracking all of the things that we're buying online and forecasting. Look at that jump in 2020. It went up. So this is retail e-commerce sales, up 52.9% in 2020. That is significant. Which, again, it makes sense as people are told to stay home. People are afraid for their health and safety. If you can, a lot of people are ordering online.
Now, this is interesting, this forecast, because I can see here in 2021, grocery e-commerce grew by, what does that say, 5.2%? And they're forecasting it to grow by, is that 18% next year?
So in 2021, it's going to go back down to 5.2. And then, yes, 18.1 in 2022, and then 17% in 2023. So
that feels optimistic to me. Because digital is sticky, so I wouldn't think it would go down. The convenience is sticky. But if I've got a vaccine, I'm not going to be buying groceries online more, am I? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think this goes, so I think the 18% in 2022, I think the 5% feels right to me in 2021. The thing I think we have to remember is that it's not that you are solely buying groceries online. You are buying groceries online and you are going to the store. You're doing both of these things, which is, I think, why, too, in 2021, you kind of see the sales, level off more. Granted, also now in 2021, who knows what's happening? Right? It's not, we're still in this for quite a while. So I think 2021 is a little off, but I think they're continuing to, I think really just appeal to how convenient this is. And I think too, so really interestingly as well. So according to NPD, consumers 65 and older spent on average 49% more on digital orders compared to 2019, meaning we're all a little afraid. We're the group that is more susceptible to getting very sick and getting hospitalized. So they are spending significantly more. And also, according to Instacart, the 60 and older category is also spending 25% more frequently than younger generations. So you've tapped in, I think a lot of these companies and the way that online grocery shopping has been advertised in years past has kind of skipped this group, skipped this generational cohort. I think they're realizing, oh, nothing like a pandemic to force you to do something new and realize how convenient it is.
Interesting. So let me ask you this. Here where I live, just yesterday, they've now rolled out vaccine availability to anyone 50 and older. So that really is that group that's spending more and more frequently. Let's give it a couple of weeks so they're all vaccinated. Are they going back to the grocery store, or does that stick?
I think both.
You think
I think
both?
they do both.
Okay. All right.
Because even me, I actually like going to the grocery store. I like a good shop. However, I like a good shop when it's on my time and I've chosen to go and I'm not stressed about it, right? It's not after work on the commute home and I'm starving and I have to go pick up groceries to make dinner and I'm just angry about it. But I also really on those days, and obviously not commuting these days, but even, things happen and you get busy and you realize how convenient it is for someone to come and deliver your groceries. I do a little shopping online and have it delivered to my door. So again, maybe I'm more of the unique category because I am the typical millennial, but I still do both. And I think everyone, all of the surveys say these services are something that's going to stick afterwards, especially the click and collect. You can do Instacart and still, collect in store. Sprouts has been doing that too. Their online sales have just skyrocketed because they started doing their own digital marketing and digital delivery or digital pickups. So you can go directly to Sprouts and do curbside pickup. And they say that's been incredibly popular. So I think it's just always about options, which is, everything we talk about, just reliable options. So I think we're going to, it's not going anywhere. We're going to continue to see it.
So where you live in LA, when you do go to the grocery store, how many Instacart shoppers and grocery pickers are you encountering in particularly the produce section seems to be a real congregant area, don't you think?
Well, because I think it takes longer. Everyone's because too, when I think there's some rule, and I this is not based in anything that I have read, I think Instacart shoppers have to bag, in the little plastic produce bags. I think they have to bag everything. So, if you go to the grocery store, you don't care about the, head of garlic you just picked up.
No, I'm not going to bag garlic.
I think they have to bag it. I think it's like a sanitary thing. So it just takes a really long time. But to answer your question, so many Instacart shoppers. I want to say, there have been some days where it's definitely the majority, by far.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. I think uptake's just a lot more in the city. I live kind of way out, but when I go into a grocery store or a Target that's closer to a city, I'll see some, but it's not ridiculous like you see in an LA or in New York.
Oh, yeah. And all of this points to, I think it was last week, we were talking about the micro fulfillment centers or the automated fulfillment centers, this demand. And we're just trying to make it even more efficient. So I think it's, again, it's here. Even meal kits, kind of in the same sort of online realm. Meal kits have kind of seen a resurgence as well. HelloFresh just reported its customer count increased 46% in 2020.
Really? See, that's interesting because I've officially burned out on Oh, meal kits.
So
I was hard and heavy for him for like almost a year. And then I'm just like, okay, we're good.
yeah, so I think I've got a couple of different thoughts on the meal kits. One, I think, right, we talked about that a few years ago. Like meal kits were like the next big thing. Remember, all of the grocers then started doing their own meal kits to stop, getting share from, the Blue Aprons. But I think one, you also cook,
I
you
do. I
know?
do.
I think the meal kits in particular are really great for people who don't
See,
regularly.
I don't know about that because you really are cooking. There's a lot of work to them. It's only saving you just buying the ingredients and deciding on what recipe that
Well,
you're going to cook.
some decision fatigue, but don't you think also it's good? I guess my point is, isn't it good for learning? I
Yeah.
think a lot of
Yeah.
people were at home this past year and you're like, we don't cook, but I don't know how to start. If I got a meal kit, I've got this recipe and I know all the ingredients that are coming, and this is a way for me to get into this like new habit and explore. So I think that was a lot of it. I think it was this, I'll call it culinary exploration in 2020.
Yeah, and it's like anything else. When something's novel, it's fun and new, and you feel like you're doing something different. But then when it's just part of your routine, you're like, it's not as exciting. I could see maybe trying a different meal kit service than the one I'd been on, just to mix it up.
Yeah, well, HelloFresh apparently did 705 million in Q4, so that's a 99% increase from 2019. So
I,
jump on that bandwagon.
I wonder how many of those had been coming from like Blue Apron,
So really, like, I don't know how many switches there have been, but I mean, Blue Apron is really what we used to talk about. So I said HelloFresh now has 2.61 million active customers. Blue Apron only has 353,000.
Whoa, that is a huge difference. And
Huge difference.
I didn't realize, if you had asked me, I would have said, oh, Blue Apron's probably the market leader. I had no idea they were lagging like that.
Yeah, that's, and that was apparently what Blue Apron reported recently. We can double check it. Maybe we'll have to fix this next week, but that is what I read. And that's a very big difference. So HelloFresh, also, you got to imagine HelloFresh has really amped up on their marketing. They are coming in through podcasts that I'm listening to. I think Mindy Kaling is now one of their, sponsors. They've really ramped it up, and I don't see much from Blue Apron. So in that sense, it also makes sense. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, for everybody out there who's a fan of kale, when I was doing Blue Apron, they really kaled it up. I think they had an agreement with Big Kale. Like, you were getting kale once a week. It's like, I didn't know there was this many ways to do up kale, but anywho.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, Taylor. So I want to first remind everybody to listen to our podcast. It's called Where We Buy, and every week we have in-depth conversations with all kinds of interesting influencers, thought leaders, retailers, developers, all that jazz. Check it out at wherewebuy.show.
And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. So click on that little bell icon so you're notified when new shows come out.
Don't know where it is.
I honestly, I should stop. I like somewhere around, figure it out. If you need to, Google it. But our next episode will be next Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Also 1 a.m. Beijing time, worth staying up for, and 6 p.m. in Prague.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. We're going to have a guest. It's going to be Sucharita Kodali, who's an analyst with Forrester. She knows a lot. She's a regularly quoted expert on all things retail. And so she's going to be talking with us probably one or two topics, whatever the hot topic of the day is. So tune in to make sure not to miss that. But anyway, Taylor, I guess I have to ask you, what else do you know about retail?
James, I'll tell you all of it next week.